just going to go over it a little bit more because we just want to get it a little bit thinner, because the thinner these cookies are, the really crispier they are. Hold on one second. I just need to do something on the computer. Okay. It's asking me if I wanted to continue because it's being recorded. Of course I do. I'm going to roll this really thin. So after it's rolled in between those 2 sheets of parchment paper really thin, see, look, I can pick it up. I'm going to put it on a baking sheet, and I'm going to stick it in the freezer for like 20 minutes. And when it's good and frozen, I'm going to do that right now. So when it's good and frozen, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to peel the paper off one side, flip it over, peel the paper off the other side, keeping the paper underneath. And then I'm going to take a cutter, and I've just cut like squares, just kind of cut the dough into maybe 2.5 inch squares. And I've got some weird shapes. So we're crushing these up, so it doesn't matter what the shapes are. Got some, funny looking shapes here. And that's how we do the cookies. So whether you've made them or you've bought them, we're going to grind them up into crumbs. And the easiest way, and if you don't want to dirty your food processor, because we're going to be using the food processor for something else. We're going to take the cookies and we're just kind of breaking them up, and we're going to just stick them in the bag. Just kind of crumble them up, the whole thing. And you need about 2 cups of crumbs for this, for the crust. There we go. Just crumbling them all up.
Can I ask? People are saying that they are not seeing the cookie recipe in.
Oh, I thought I put it there. It should be all the way at the bottom. Crust. I think I put, yes, all the way at the end. But if you don't want to make the cookies, you can buy them. Just as easy. Okay,
yeah, I just double check. It seems like it's only
at the bottom.
Make the crust.
Yeah. Okay, so these are all crumbled up. I'm going to make sure it's sealed. Let's get the air out of it. And you're going to just take your rolling pin and kind of bang it a little, roll over it a little bit. Really get them good and crumbly. And if you don't want to go through this trouble, like I said, you can put them right in your food processor, and it does really quick work of that. In fact, I've got my little one right here, and I'll show you. So there's 2 ways you can do it. You can do it this way, or you can do it in the food processor. I've got my little food processor right here. And instead of putting them in the bag, you would just put them into here. Okay, there we go. This is much quicker, obviously. And those are nice and crumbly, nice and finely ground. And as I said, we wanted about 2 cups of this. Okay, there's about 1 cup. And there's 2 cups. Yeah, so this is about a cup. So it's almost a whole batch of those cookies will make enough for the crust. Okay. I just want to make sure this is all cleared out because we're going to use it for our strawberries in a second. This tiny little food processor. All right, we're just going to clean things up a little bit. Okay. So to the crumbs, I think there's someone in the waiting room. Yeah, I think I can see someone in the waiting room. So to the crumbs, we are adding 4 tablespoons or a quarter of a cup of melted butter. I'm just going to pour that in. And you can, if you don't want to use these, you could use, would be a good idea. I originally had made it with oatmeal cookies, the Tate's oatmeal cookies, which they're really nice and super crispy. And we are going to just mix this up until we see that all the crumbs are coated with that melted butter. There we go. And like I said, this can be done. You can make the crust, bake it, have it cooled. You can make it the day before or even 2 days before. Okay. And we're using a tart pan with a removable bottom. I love these because it's just so easy to get the tart out. And you can, leave it on here and just put it on a plate. It's got to be really, really cool for you to be able to get it off here. So I wouldn't, sometimes if it's stuck a little, I wouldn't fiddle with it. You might end up breaking it. You can leave it on. So there's our tart pan. And I'm going to just put the whole thing in the middle. If we want to press it down nice and even, so I'm just going to get it started with my spatula. Okay, kind of get it all over. Make sure it's, you're starting to get it even. And make sure you're pushing it to the sides because we have to build up the edge. So in order to hold our filling. So we're kind of pushing it to the side, make sure it's even. And this takes some fiddling with. It's not going to, happen all at once, but it does take a little bit of fiddling. So what I like to do is I like to take a glass that has a smooth bottom on it and just start, pressing it in. We just want to make sure that our bottom is covered. And what we can do is I'm just going to get the tiniest little bit of flour. Just to make sure that that glass doesn't stick. I know with all that butter in there, you would think that it wasn't going to stick. I'm just going to add a little flour to the bottom of that glass. Okay. And we're going to just press. I'm going to press up the sides. And another one to use is if you have a flat metal measuring cup, you can do that too. So you're going to come press, and you're going to press toward the sides because you want to start working up the sides. And this is not behaving today. But again, like I said, it's kind of fiddly. And you can always go in with your fingers, whatever works for you. And we're going to start building up the side. There we go. Okay. I'm going to keep going all the way around. There we go. If you're using Oreos, you could probably, if you want to take out the cream filling, you can. If you want to leave it in, you can. Okay, I've got a little spot here that's not covered. Okay. And then you can come in again with something that's flat and kind of press it along. Kind of put your finger on top so it doesn't go over, and spill out. And we're just going to keep going around and around. I know this is not the most fun thing, but you just have to be patient with it. And there we go. Again, we've got that side built up. I was going to have my phone for an overhead shot, but my phone broke this afternoon. So I was on Amazon looking to order another one. So that's my job for tonight. Okay, just need to go a little bit more around here. Okay. We're just going to make sure that it's nice and flat on top. You don't want it to be too thin on the sides because then it'll just break. It'll break off. And when you remove the outer rim, you want it to, be, stand up nice and firm, and you want it to be a nice thick edge. Okay, and I think we are pretty much there. Okay, as you can see, our tart pan is all covered with our crust. And we're going to put this into a 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'll be right back. Okay, so I set my timer for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and we're going to let that bake. I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning, and then we're going to do the berry puree that we're going to use to swirl. Oh, we have a question. Sure, what is it?
Yeah, and so the first question was about your food processor. It seems like it's small. What's the name of? What's the brand?
This one is a 4-cup Cuisinart. Isn't it cute?
Yeah.
I actually won it at one of the contests I won.
Oh.
So I love it. It's small, but we're going to be using a bigger food processor for the filling. But this one is a Cuisinart, and it's a 4-cup.
Okay.
Size.
Thank you. And another question was about black tart pan versus stainless steel. What's the advantage, disadvantage?
So for cake pans, I like to use the lighter ones. The ones that are a little bit shinier, a little bit lighter. The tart pan I use there is a little bit darker, and it helps to brown the crust better, especially if you're doing like a flaky pie crust. You want it to brown and get, crisp. You don't want it to be soggy on the bottom. So honestly, for this particular application, either one will work. The shiny stainless steel or the kind of the darker nonstick. If you have the stainless steel, you might want to just maybe coat it with just a little bit of butter, not too much, so to help it, the sides come off and the crust doesn't stick to it.
And I double checked our recipe, so we didn't put information about cookies, so the recipe was not there. But Nancy was so fast.
It wasn't there? Oh, you know what? It probably is on the second page. I wonder if she only copied one page, because I know it was on there when I gave it to her. So
but Nancy,
you can go to my website.
She posted it in the chat from your website.
It's no problem. The cookies are on my website, and you can go get them. If you go to recipes, if you go to the cookies, and it's like, it should be, might be the first one up there. It's like super thin or super chocolatey cookies. So it's there. You need to find it. So when we're going to make our puree, whatever berry you're using, they all have seeds, whether it's blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries. We're using all strawberries today. They have seeds in them, and it's not very pleasant to bite into something that's smooth and creamy and get a seed. So the way I make my puree is I'm going to put the strawberries into the food processor. And I think we'll do like half a batch at a time. Okay. And we're going to puree them until they're smooth. Let me just turn on my burner here. Okay. We're going to puree them till they're smooth. There we go. Until you see no more chunks of the strawberries. Okay. That's the first batch. And we have another spatula. Okay. And I have a metal mesh sieve or strainer, and it's over a pot. We're going to strain this, and we're going to get all the seeds, and then we're going to add some sugar, and we're going to add some lemon juice to it, and we're going to put it on the heat, about a medium heat. You want to watch it. It's going to take a while, 10 to 15 minutes to reduce, and we want it to reduce to about 1/3 of a cup, and it's going to be really, really thick. And I'm going to show you what that looks like when it's all done. So we're going to take the strawberries and we're going to just pour it in and start to strain them. And this can be done a couple of days ahead, or you can make this puree, let it cool down, stick it in a container or a Ziploc bag, and you can pop it in the freezer. And then when you're ready to use it, just bring it to room temperature. So that's another, time saver. You don't have to make everything all in one day. This can be done even, days or a week or two ahead, and you can just pop it in the freezer, which is really nice. I'm going to do this the second batch. You can do this in the bigger food processor, but I'm going to use that for the filling. So I didn't want to dirty it, so I'm using the small one. And I still see a few chunks of strawberries in there that just don't want to get ground up. There it goes. Okay. We want to get every little bit. And you can, like I said, you can use any berry you want. You could do blackberries. You can do a combo of raspberry, strawberry. You can do blackberries, strawberries alone, raspberries alone, whatever you like. And it creates such a beautiful swirl on. It looks so pretty. Okay, so we've got that all out. And we're just gonna push it through this sieve. And you can see it's starting to come through. It takes a little bit of work, to get through this sieve, but you'll be very happy you did it because it'll be nice and smooth and you're not gonna get any seeds when you bite into that cheesecake. There we go. And again, you can do this ahead of time. Don't have to do everything all in the same day. And this is a good, fruit puree. You can use it for any number of things. You can put it over ice cream. It's really nice to put it over sponge cake or pound cake, toaster pound cake, a little strawberry puree and some whipped cream, and that's delicious. And I would taste your berries. I'm calling for 2 tablespoons of sugar. You might need more, you might need less, depending on how sweet or tart you like it. The cheese filling is going to be sweet, so this might be a little bit on the tart side. You really want to taste those berries. Okay, we're almost there. And there's quite a bit in here. There's like at least almost 1.5 cups maybe of pureed strawberries. And then we want to reduce it, and that'll take a lot of the liquid out, and it'll be really nice and thick. You don't want to add anything watery to that cheesecake base when you're going to swirl it in, because the swirls won't be as nice and they won't stay, as swirls. They might just, bake into the cake and end up with a pink cheesecake instead of, the different colors. Okay. All right, I think we are good. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on. I don't know if everybody can see this. I have a little countertop burner, and we're just going to let that go. Okay. But I have some I made. Let me see if I can show you guys how pretty liquid this is. Let's see. That's pretty liquid, and we want it to reduce down to about 1/3 of a cup. Like I said, we're going to just leave this here, and I'll just stir it every once in a while. If I haven't stirred it in a while, you can remind me. I'm going to show you what I did before. I made a batch before, and you'll see the difference in the thickness. Whew. And you can just see how thick that is. Very thick. You can see. Okay, so to this though, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. We're going to add a little lemon juice. Okay, give it a good stir, and then we'll just let it go. It's going to, bubble, and don't put it too high. I'm using a nonstick pan, so It'll less likely burn on the bottom, but just keep an eye on it. You're gonna have to, watch it. Keep an eye on it. Okay. You move a few things out of the way. Now we're gonna make our filling. And it has cream cheese, ricotta cheese, sugar, some lemon zest, and some eggs in it. It's kind of a basic cheesecake recipe. I like doing it in the food processor because the filling gets really nice and smooth and there's no lumps. But either way, we'd like to work with room temperature cream cheese and room temperature eggs because they will blend up better if they're both. I've had this out for about 2 or 3 hours now with the eggs, and that's perfectly fine. Then we're gonna take this and use your judgment with the ricotta. Mine, I didn't have to strain. It didn't look very watery, but if yours is a little watery, if you're using fresh, you might want to strain that overnight and just get some of the liquid out of it. Okay, so we're gonna take our cream cheese. I'm just gonna check on the crust though. Let's take a peek at that. Okay, so that's going good. It should be done in another minute or two. So we're going to make our filling. And I'm going to take our cream cheese. There we go. And our eggs. Oh, my 1 minute warning on my stove. I just heard it beeping. There we go. And our cheese. We got the cheese. Kind of lightens it up a little bit. And we're going to add some lemon zest. When you're zesting the lemon, just make sure that you get the colored part, the yellow part. Don't go too far down to the white part, the pith, because that's going to be really bitter tasting. So we want to just make sure that just keep turning the fruit so that you're zesting only that yellow outer part. Okay. Pretty good. And then we have, I believe it's a ½ cup of sugar. Okay. So our strawberries are starting to bubble a little. So I'm just going to give it a quick turn, make sure it's not sticking. Okay. I hear our crust, so I'm going to go and get it out of the oven. Okay, we are going to just put it on that tray to just cool off a little bit. Ooh, this is really bubbling. Okay. All right, so we're just gonna pulse this all together until it's nice and smooth. And you may need to scrape down the sides a little, just like you would with a mixer, just to make sure everything is getting mixed together. And this really couldn't be easier. You just put everything in here. I'm gonna do a few more to get it nice and smooth. Okay, that looks really smooth. Looks really good. Okay. There we go. I'm going to take our blade out. Make sure we clean it off, get every bit of that filling. Tastes good. Now, I would normally wait for the crust to cool off, but since we don't have have that time, we're gonna go ahead and fill it. But I'm gonna get a pan because it's hard to kind of maneuver that pan. So when you're baking this, I put it right in the oven. If you're not sure of yourself and you're afraid you're going to stick your hand underneath and push that removable bottom up, put it on a pan, which is what I'm going to do now. Because once we put the filling in, it's very hard to move it when it's just in the pan. This just makes it much easier. So I'm going to get this. And we are going to put it right here. And our crust is nice and crusty. There we go. And we're just going to put the filling right into this crust. And there we go. Depending on how big, like this was I think it's a 9-inch, and this should be enough. Okay. Sometimes if your eggs are a little bigger or smaller. So I don't want to fill it to it's overflowing. So just fill it till it's just at the top of the crust. And this is where we take our puree. And what we're going to do is, just going to give this another turn. It's really bubbling. I'm going to lower it a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to put that away and save that for something else. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take little spoonfuls of the puree, and we're just going to kind of put them right on top, just all over. There you go. And then I'm going to use a like a metal skewer to do our swirls. You can use a toothpick. You can use like a wooden dowel. You can use, anything that's, kind of sharp and pointy and thin. I'm just going to do this all over. Okay. And here's where we go. I think everybody can see. We're just going to kind of run it around, and it's going to start to make our little swirls. I'm going to just go all over. I think this may have been just a little bit too thick, the puree. And if you find that your puree is a little bit thick, you can add just a tiny bit of water to it just to loosen it up. So I think ours was maybe just a little thick. We're not getting our really nice swirls today, but that's okay. It's going to be swirled in there. When you cut the slices, you're going to see the swirls. Let's see, do we have a little bit more we can put on here? Let's see. Got a little bit more. Okay. So then this is we're going to lower the oven to 325, and we're going to bake this for about 20 to 25 minutes until the outside is kind of set, but the inside is maybe just a little bit wobbly. So this is so much easier to handle than the actual tart pan itself. And we're going to just pop this in the oven. Okay, so I've set that for 25 minutes, and we're going to let that go. And I think we're going to hear about some upcoming programs at the library now, waiting for that to come out of the oven.
Sure, but before we have a few questions. The first question was about strawberries, regular versus organic strawberries. Difference, preferences?
It doesn't matter. It's just your personal preference. It won't make any difference.
Okay.
It's just what you prefer.
Can we use
you can use frozen too. You can use frozen fruit as well.
Good. That was my question. Okay, and another question was about cracking eggs. So you did crack it in the blender. Is it better to do it in a separate dish, or we can do it in the blender?
You can usually, yes, you can do it in a separate dish. I felt confident enough in myself to break it and not get any shells in. But if you get first in a bowl, make sure there's no shells, and then put it right into the food processor. So.
Okay, and we still have time. If you want to unmute yourself and ask Tina questions, that's the time. Well, I am, we'll try to find information about our upcoming programs and share the screen. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask questions, you can do that. And I will try to share the screen and okay, so can you see our newsletter?
Yes, I can see it.
You can see it. Okay, so I would like to mention a few upcoming programs that we are very proud to present. First is very, very important, fantastic book by Isabel Wilkerson. The first program will start tonight. So 5 libraries, 5 towns joined together in order to present her book Cast, which is fantastic. It's very eye-opening research that Ms. Wilkerson did, and it's her second book, and it's amazing. So we are going to have separate conversations based on the chapters of the book, and she will come and talk to all of us on Sunday, April 25th. And it will be the only program where she will be appearing in person, but it's online program. So today at 7 o'clock, we are going to discuss chapter 8, Jim Crow and Nazi Germany. And it will be a fascinating discussion. So for me, it was absolutely eye-opening that Nazi Germany studied slavery in America and use it as a base to discriminate against Jewish people. Unbelievable. So we have programs, discussion based on chapters on April 8th, April 17th. Like I said, on 25th, it will be Isabel Wilkerson speaking to all of us on Zoom. We will continue discussion on chapters on April 28th and May 3rd. I also want to mention a few programs that you should not miss. We will talk about immunization with White Plains Hospital doctors. So please join us if you have any questions about vaccines. That will be a time to ask. We're presenting a wonderful program, Gatsby in Connecticut on Wednesday, April 21st at 7 o'clock. It's a new program that we are starting, DIY Corner Discussion Group. Our new librarian will be discussing DIY projects, so it will be totally new. And don't be shy, it's all for female and male. And if you don't feel like you are handy and can do some work around the house, I can assure you, after you watch Bob's presentation, you will be very confident that you can handle it. It's not like he will be leading and showing you how to do it. He will show you resources where you can learn about different projects, and it will be very detailed instructions that he found, and also he will recommend books that you will be very confident after that you can do projects. Okay, we are going to others event on Thursday, April 22nd, and it's a very timely event because a lot of people are looking for job, and unfortunately, a lot of people lost jobs during pandemic. So this other event will be presenting 2 new books that covers topics about job searching and preparing to career changing. So it will be a very timely event. And on Monday, April 26th at 7 o'clock, we will be presenting musical program, The Beatles. So that will be wonderful. So Beatles have wonderful songs that maybe we can sing all together. Here Comes the Shine, or Good Day, Summertime. So, and we're also going to have in-person programs in our reading garden. So please join us for herb gardening in our real garden. And it will be on Thursday, April 29th. And it's 2 programs on April 29th and 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So that's a very brief announcement about our upcoming programs. Okay, any questions to Tina?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm back. Yes.
So when you were talking about refrigerating or freezing the puree, was that after you cook it?
Yes,
before?
after you cook it.
Okay. And then the
After.
other
You can
question
do it
was,
after.
if, like you said, it was a little too thick, could you have just put it in the micro for a few seconds to loosen it up, or would you just
You
recommend
could,
the
you
boil?
could do that too. And I would add just like little drops of water,
A drop
like,
of-
so what I said, yeah, so ours was a little thick. So
Uh-huh.
I had a little left, I mixed it with this and I plopped a little more on and swirled it. So you'll see when it comes out. You'll be able
Okay.
to tell if you, it should be close to the consistency of the cheesecake batter. So when you swirl it, it swirls, together nicely. If it's too thick, like I had the problem at the beginning, it wasn't swirling. So you can get a feel for it. If what you could do is just do 1 dollop, see if it's, doing a nice swirl. And if
Right.
not, just loosen it up just a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tina, and if you don't have time to make strawberries in advance, can you just buy jam and just use?
I think you might be able to use some strawberry jam depending on how thick or thin it is. Some of the preserves will have chunks of fruit in, so you might want to strain those out, and unless you want the chunks of fruit in there, that's fine too. Or you can pulse it in the food processor a little bit and make it smooth, and you can use that too. But again, the puree is something you can do well ahead of time. So, you don't have to do it all in one day. Same thing with the crust. You can make the crust the night before. And if you don't want to, please don't feel like you have to bake cookies. Those Nabisco chocolate wafers are fantastic. Or Oreos you can use, or whatever cookie you like.
Oh, that's great. The last fork is better.
Right? Make it easy.
Yes. Well, I'm just wondering, for people who are joining our program today, how many of you are baking with Tina? Raise your hand.
Did anybody bake today? Or everybody's just watching?
I'm just watching because I just got the recipe a little bit before, so.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, this is hard. This is hard to do in real time with me because there are, so many steps, and like the puree takes a while to boil down. Like I had that done ahead of time. So it's kind of difficult. So, make it. make it whenever you like, use whatever berry you like. So I'm gonna go take a look and see how we're doing. I don't think it's done yet, but we're gonna just take a quick peek.
And remember, we are recording this program. So after the program, I will send you an email with the link and you can watch it again and bake it at home when you have time.
Yeah. So it has about 10 minutes. It's just starting to set. Your own oven, like I said, 20, 25 minutes. Slow. Usually with cheesecake, you want to do it low and slow. And I know a lot of people, have problems with like cracks in the tops of their cheesecake. This is a really thin tart, so you're not going to run into that problem. But for a regular cheesecake, doing it low and slow, like at 300 or 325 degrees, will help with the cracks. Well, also a good idea to help with the cracks is to do it in a water bath, to have a pan that has water in it, and then you put your cheesecake pan inside the water. It just is a more gentle heat than just the heat of the oven. And if you're using a springform pan, you obviously don't want to put that directly in the water because you will get seepage. You want to kind of cover the bottom with foil. Like I would do at least 2 layers of foil, on the bottom up the sides, and make sure that no water is seeping in there. So that's a good tip for to eliminate those cracks on the cheesecake. And another thing is if you bring it out to room temperature right out of the oven, the change in temperature might cause it to kind of sink or kind of crack. Turn off the oven, prop it open with a wooden spoon, let it sit in there for maybe an hour and a half, and then on your counter for a little bit, and then into the fridge. Usually I like to do cheesecake the day before, because the longer it stays in the cheesecake, the longer it stays in the refrigerator, I find the better. So that's a couple of cheesecake tips. This is more of a tart. I wouldn't say it's a cheesecake. I would say it's a tart. And it's smaller. And I know we're all about portion control right now, and our COVID-15 or what everybody wants to call it. So smaller, you have less in the house. If you do make it, give it to your neighbors. You don't have that much in the house to eat then.
We have a question. Is there a time period to have an oven check to calibrate it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would go out if they're not that expensive, any range anywhere from $5 to $10. Go get a good oven thermometer. The one that stands up in it, not the, the instant read that you stick into the meat. You want the temperature of the oven. And make sure that what you set on your dial is what it is in the oven. And if you go out onto the internet, you should be able to Google like calibrate and then the name of your oven, or if you have a model number, and those, you might be able to find those directions on there. And every one of them is different, whether you have a dial, whether you have a digital, whether you have a push, button on a pad. So they're all different. But if you find that most recipes cook faster than what the directions say, your oven is probably running a little hot. And the converse, if your recipes are taking longer to cook than is stated in the recipe, then your oven might be running a little cool. So just, get that checked. Or, make sure your gasket around the edge is in good shape, because sometimes if it starts to deteriorate, you have an older oven, the heat can leak out, causing the temperature to fluctuate as well.
Okay, so while we are waiting, maybe we can do some kind of polls, like raise your hand. You prefer regular cheesecake or flavored cheesecake, chocolate cheesecake? So
yeah, how about we do, what's your favorite, either chocolate cheesecake versus regular cheesecake? You can just like do it in the chat. Or is there any other? It's just the chat they can answer, right?
We could do a poll, but we will.
You could do a poll. Oh yeah, polls are fun. Can you do it right up? Right? Yeah, let's do a poll.
probably will be a little bit different because we didn't set it up.
Set it up
ahead
before.
of time.
We should do that next time for
But
the
we
next one. I
can-
have one
yeah.
coming up, another one coming up in May.
Okay, so we will prepare some poll, but I see Nancy said
We'll prepare some
white
questions.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody likes chocolate cheesecake better. It's so rich. I could eat less of the chocolate one.
Regular cheesecake. Okay.
Regular cheese. We have a regular cheesecake.
Okay.
You know, next time we could even do, instead of we could do a quiz, and we could do some baking questions, which would be a lot of fun.
Oh, sure. That will be blueberry cheesecake, regular cheesecake. That's wonderful. What about baked cheesecake versus unbaked cheesecake? Because you can do unbaked.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay.
That's a great thing to make in the summer. You don't have to turn your oven on. It's just so easy to make the no-bake cheesecake.
Oh.
Let me go take a peek. I'll be right back.
Sure. Well, we have another post, regular cheesecake with cream cheese, sour cream, and ricotta. Oof, I'm not baking, but I already feel like I gained pounds. Just watching it.
Okay.
And here's the recipe.
Now here we go. So as you can see, let me move it back a little so you guys can see. And let me get another dish towel. I'm gonna burn my hands. Okay. So there's just the slightest bit of jiggle in the middle, and you can see we have our really nice swirls. If everybody can see them. They're pretty. So what I like to do is to get that bottom pan off, I get a glass. Now, it's probably a little too early to do this because this is really hot. And there you go. See how the bottom just slips off? And that's how I do it. It makes it so much easier. Just put it on top of a glass and then just let it just drop right off. And I'm gonna do this. So I wouldn't put it directly on the on that just yet. We can put it on our rack and we're gonna let it cool off. Yeah, the crust is still not quite set, so we don't wanna like play with it a little bit. And that's a little trick to get your, to get that off. It's in the middle. Okay, and there we go. Everybody can see. Hold it up a little bit. Everybody can see that.
Oh, it's beautiful. I wish we can taste it and smell it.
I know. So what I usually do is I'll take a little whipped cream and I'll just kind of do some dollops around the edge because you don't want to do it in the middle because you don't want to cover up all those beautiful swirls you have. And I would put this in the fridge for, after it's cooled, I would put it in the fridge for at least 2 to 3 hours because you really want it to be set and you want it to be cold. Cheesecake, I think, is best either room temperature or cold right out of the fridge, depending on how you like it. But you really need for it to cool in the fridge for a little while.
Well, thank you, Tina.
You're welcome.
So it's time for everyone to probably unmute yourself and turn on your cameras and let us know if you were baking with Tina and how it came out. If not, if you have questions, that's the time to ask your questions. I just want to remind you that the last program with Tina will be on Tuesday, May 11th. Okay, Nancy mentioned that on your website you have another cookie base for a crust. It says use Tate's cookies.
Yeah, so last year, Tate's, everybody knows those really thin, crispy Tate's chocolate chip cookies in the green bag you find at the supermarket. They actually approached me and asked me to make a recipe using, it was a limited edition cookie last year, and it was oatmeal strawberry. So I used those to make the crust for this, but they're not out there they're only a limited edition, so they're not out at the supermarket anymore. So I decided to do a chocolate crust because I think chocolate and strawberries go really well together. So that's what I decided to use. If you can find them, their regular oatmeal cookies are good too because they're crispy and they'll make nice crumbs. Like you don't want to use a soft cookie for this because it's not, the crumbs aren't going to be really nice. You want to use like a firm or a crispy cookie to make the crumbs for this.
Okay. Any questions?
Any more questions? And again, if you have any like baking questions or you're making this and you're kind of, you're not sure what to do, you can always reach out to me through my website, tinazaccardi.com, and you go to the contact, there's a little tab that says get in touch. And there's a drop down and you can fill out the form and type in your question and it goes right to my email. And my Instagram is the Italian Cookie.
Well, thank you so much, Tina. And we will see you on Tuesday,
and I think we're right.
May 11th. Yay.
The 11th,
thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you everybody for hanging out with us this afternoon. Again, I know it's a beautiful day out there, but there's still a lot of it left. So enjoy the day and thanks for, hanging out with us.
That was a question about flat plates.
What was the question? Let me see if I could see what it is. You're welcome, Rosetta. Okay, there was a question. Let's see. All the way down at the bottom. Oh, a flat plate? What was the question about a flat plate? Yeah, I would, once it's cooled off, you can put it on a flat plate and serve it that way.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.